Hi, I'm Bruno Massel. I'm here with detailing expert Mike Phillips, and today we're going to introduce you guys to the Wolfgang Concours-Series of world-class car care products.
We're going to share tips and techniques on how to get a show car finished the first time and every time from inside and out and top to bottom.
Today we're going to start with this Audi TT, and the first thing we got to do is get it outside and get it cleaned up. We're going to wash off all that loose dirt and contaminants, and then we can start the detailing process.
And to do this, we're going to go ahead and put the top up because we're going to share some tips and techniques for washing a convertible top too.
All right, I'm going to get the car outside, Mike.
Let's do it. The first step to a show car shine is washing your car. Now, the reason you want to wash your car is to remove any loose dirt off the surface so you don't grind it in later on when you're machine polishing to try to remove swirls and scratches. And here's a little tip. Most people say to start at the top and work your way down. But what I want to show you is a better way, and that's to start with the wheels and tires first, knock out all 4 wheels and tires, and that way, as you're washing the rest of the car, you don't have to worry about the water drying on it if you're over here washing the wheels and tires second. So we're going to start with the wheels and tires, Bruno, and show people a couple tools and some tips and techniques to really get these things clean.
The whole idea is to use the right product for the right area you're trying to clean or polish, and use the right tool to go ahead and do the cleaning. So what we're going to use is the Concours-Series tire and wheel cleaner on the wheels and tires. What you want to do is just spray them on, let it soak in and do its work for about 20 or 30 seconds, and then use the right tool to go ahead and agitate it to get off that road grime and that brake dust. Really clean up these wheels without doing any damage to it in the process.
Yeah. Now what I got here is 2 different brushes. This is a utility brush, and this is perfect for scrubbing the tire. What this here is a boar's hair brush, and this is important because a lot of cars have either clear coated wheels or polished aluminum wheels, and you don't want to use a real aggressive brush because you could potentially put scratches into the wheel. So you want to use the right tool for the job. Tell you what, I'll let you do the tire and I'll do the wheel.
All right.
And this is going to get, again, all the road grime and the brake dust that builds up on the wheels and the tires. Okay, I'm going to come down here. This boar's hair brush is really, really soft, and the ends of the bristles here are actually flagged, so they're feathered, so they really get into all those little nooks and crannies and agitate that dirt, and it makes cleaning your wheel fast and easy. Okay, Bruno, give that a blast.
All right, we'll rinse this off.
That looks good.
And we are off to a good start. Now we'll just repeat this on each one of the wheels, and now we can start working our way from the up back down again.
Right. So what, hand me the wheel cleaner and I'll get the back one.
There you go. Now that the wheels and tires are done, we're going to start getting the car ready to be cleaned, and first thing we've got to do is go ahead and put a little water in here and get our cleaning solution ready to go.
Now what I've put in here is the Wolfgang Auto Bath. This is non-detergent, okay, so it's not going to strip off any previously applied coats of wax or paint sealant. It also is going to lubricate the surface to help the dirt glide off the paint instead of grind in. And that's very important because when you're washing, the last thing you want to do is put scratches in the paint.
Right. Because
clear coats are scratch sensitive. So everything that touches the paint has to be high quality, perfectly designed for the process you're doing here. So we've already got the soap in, and the next thing we want to do is we want to start at the top. We've already done the wheels, and then work our way down.
Now, we'll rinse the car off, obviously. One thing you want to keep in mind, this is a convertible, and with the convertible you need to use the right tools to go ahead and clean the top. And once we get the car all rinsed, Mike's going to utilize a boar's hair brush that's specifically designed for these convertible tops to clean it, get all the dust and debris off it without damaging it.
That's right. Now, convertible tops come from the factory with a waterproof coating. So the last thing you want to do is use any kind of abrasive or coarse brush because you're going to scrub that coating off. So again, we got a boar's hair brush, and these are perfectly designed to fit inside the 5-gallon bucket here. So I'm going to dip this in, gather up some of the Wolfgang Auto Bath car wash solution, and then just run this over the top. Now this is going to be real gentle to this fabric top, but what it's going to do is if you ever look at a fabric top, you notice it has a weave to it. And when this thing's parked outside, open to the environment, dust settles into that weave. And so the last thing you want to do is ever put like a protective coating on your top without first washing, get the dirt out of that weave.
Right, you got to get the dirt out before you protect it, or otherwise you'll trap in that dirt into the weave, which is obviously something you don't want to do.
I also have this boar's hair brush on an extendable handle, and that just enables me to reach the entire roof from one side of the car. I'm going to whip around their side though, and just knock out that side window, and then we'll start rinsing. Okay, go for it, Bruno.
All right. All right, now that we've got the car all rinsed off, we're going to go ahead and get ready to wash the body panels. And what we're going to use is a 2-bucket system. Now, if you notice this dolly here, it's great. It's on some nice casters, allows it to roll around the car, so you get easy access to everything, so you're not chasing back and forth for your washing solution while you're doing it. It makes the job a little bit easier. Now, you can see there's slots here for all your different tools for your auto bath and your cleaning solution right on it. And the whole key is this 2-bucket system is to have one filled with your auto bath, your cleaning solution, one with fresh water that allows you to take your cleaning mitt or your sponge, get it all soaked up with your cleaning solution, and you want to rinse it off before you go to put it back on the vehicle, because last thing you want to do is damage the vehicle while you're trying to clean it.
That's right. We've also got what's called grit guard inserts. Now there's one of these on the bottom of each bucket. They fit down to the bottom. What this is a plastic grill that's elevated off the bottom about 2 inches by these vanes. And this is how this works. After you gather some soapy solution and wash a panel, you're going to take and rinse this off in the freshwater solution. You actually want to put your hand down inside the bucket and rub that mitt against the grill. That's going to loosen up the dirt off the mitt. It's going to fall down past the grill, get trapped on the bottom. And what these vanes do is when you put your mitt in there and you're swirling around, it keeps the dirt from swirling back up and getting on your wash mitt. Very ingenious, very important. It helps keep you from putting swirls into the car as you're washing it. So let's go ahead. I'll let you try this one
out.
These are very soft, premium quality wash mitts. Again, we're going to start with our soapy water solution. You get the hood and I'll get the door and work my way back. And a lot of times, here's a tip. I've watched people wash cars over the years, and a lot of times they don't pay attention to what they're doing, and they'll scrub a panel and scrub a panel and scrub a panel when theoretically all they need to do is actually push that wash mitt over the panel once or twice to loosen the dirt and then move on. You don't want to just sit there and just keep rubbing and rubbing the same place. Again, the whole idea is to avoid inducing swirls into the paint.
That's a great point, Mike.
Okay, so then after washing each body panel, go ahead and give the car a thorough rinse. And this is also real important. You want to rinse all the dirt that you've loosened up out of all the cracks and crevices so they don't get pulled out when you're machine buffing in the air current developed by your buffer. Come back here and get the back. You got the other side, right?
Yep,
okay.
That side's good. So now we're going to dry it off using the Guzzler microfiber drying towel. Now it's got a waffle weave in it, you'll see right here, which is highly effective at drying the car and not damaging it in the process. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. First of all, if you're doing the body panels or the paint, you want to make sure that you use light pressure on it so you're not doing any damage. And when you come to the tops here, actually use more of a blotting. And what you'll see is it'll pretty much just soak up the water into the towel and pull it off of the top. And if you look right here, you can see where it's actually a color change because it's pulling that water out. So you don't want to damage it in the process of drying it.
Now I've got a Guzzler waffle weave microfiber drying towel too. This one has pockets on the ends. You can stick your hands in here and watch this. Put this right on the hood. Just draw it across like that. And in no time, you're going to have that car completely dry, safely.
So once we get the car dry, we're going to pull it inside, and then begins the surface evaluation to find out if there's any flaws, what needs to be addressed, and the last part is going to be the fun part, getting that nice, brilliant shine. Well, now we've got our freshly cleaned car. It's all dried, it's inside and ready to go, and now we can start doing the machine polishing, am I right?
Let's slow down on the machine polishing. You know, a lot of people, that's the first thing they want to do is just get the buffer out and go to town. But actually what you want to do is inspect the paint visually and with your sense of touch and actually see what the car needs. And that'll determine the steps you need to do. So the first thing we want to do is inspect this paint physically with our sense of touch. Bruno, go ahead and just feel the paint.
It feels pretty good with my bare hand like this,
yeah, it feels pretty good.
I think we're ready to go.
Let me share with you what we call the baggie test. So it felt good to me too, but now try it by putting this thin plastic baggie over your hand.
Okay.
You can use a sandwich baggie. Works
Oh, wow.
good. Now all of a sudden you can feel something there, little bumps.
A lot of little bumps. Man, it's it's like it's damaged here.
Yeah, kind of feels like sandpaper, huh?
Right.
Okay, so here's what that does. The thin film of plastic heightens or increases your sensitivity, so it enables you to feel those contaminants that you couldn't feel with your skin alone. And what that tells us when you feel those little bumps is that there's what we call above surface bonded contaminants that have bonded to the paint. They didn't come off when we wash them because they're stuck on there basically like glue. And the most effective way to remove those is using what we call detailing clay.
Okay, so the clay is the right way to get those contaminants out of the paint, and then we'll have a nice clean surface or fresh surface to do the polishing.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, couldn't you just use a polisher to get those contaminants out and skip that step of clay?
You know, a lot of people think that, and that's a good question, but the problem is let me just show you. We're going to be using some really high quality foam pads and fill these things. See, they're not coarse or anything, they're nice and soft.
Oh yeah, these are really soft.
When you machine buff, basically they just glide over the contaminants. They're not like old-fashioned wool pads, they're foam pads. And what happens if you're machine polishing and you have above surface bonded contaminants, they tend to just glide over them. They don't actually remove them. So claying is the most effective way to remove above surface bonded contaminants.
So what we're going to do is use the clay bar then across all the painted surfaces, get all those contaminants out, then we've got a nice fresh surface to work with to do all our polishing.
And then the polishes go right to work on the paint itself. Now the good news is a lot of times because the contaminants, things like industrial fallout, tree sap mist, airborne contaminants, overspray paint, they tend to be in the air and they land on the horizontal surfaces and then they settle there, and that's when they do their bonding. The sides are usually pretty clean. Now if you had something like airborne spray paint, someone's painting something around the house, or you got a rattle can, because it's sticky, if it goes to the side of the car, it could stick, but usually it's just the horizontal surfaces. But that's why you want to feel a couple different panels.
Okay, and get an idea of what we've got to work with.
That's right, but the first step is claying, so let's go ahead and get some clay and we'll do that step.
There's a right way and a wrong way to do just about everything, and it's never been more apparent when you talk about doing clay detailing to your car, because if you do it the wrong way, you can actually damage the surface of the vehicle. Obviously, that's something you don't want to do. So we're going to be utilizing the Wolfgang Concours-Series Elastic Poly Clay to go ahead and get all those surface contaminants out of the paint, and when you open it up, you'll see that you've got a whopping 200-gram bar, which is way more than we need for this Audi TT.
Yeah, you know what you want to do is actually take that bar out and cut it into either 2 or 3 other smaller chunks. Then take one of those chunks and you want to form it into a wafer like I have here. Now the reason you want to do this is so when you're claying, you've got some surface area here large enough so it ain't going to take you all day long. And here's the tip. You want to put this in the palm of your hand like this with your fingertips extended past the clay patty. And the reason for that is because if you put this clay patty on the paint, you put your fingertips on it without thinking about it, you'll tend to put more pressure on your fingertips, and what's going to happen is you'll push a hole through the clay patty. It ain't going to hurt nothing, but then you got to stop, re-knead, and form a patty. If you put your fingertips just past the clay patty without thinking about it, you'll put equal pressure over the face of your fingers, and then you can clay until you're ready to re-knead the clay patty. And the reason you want to re-knead it is because as you're working along the car and you're removing contaminants, you'll see them build up on the face, and what you want to do is fold that into itself and re-knead it, expose a fresh side of clay, and then you can continue to clay your car.
Now, it's important that you make sure that your vehicle is properly lubricated, that the clay is properly lubricated so you don't have that damage. And the way we're going to do that is by using the Concours-Series clay lubricant. So you'll spray a generous amount on the surface, put it on the clay bar itself before you start working.
And it's a fairly fast motion. You get your hand moving down here, and normally when you first start out, if you've got contaminants, you'll feel it drag. Did you feel it dragging up there?
A little bit right off the bat.
Okay, then as you clay and you start to pull those contaminants off, you notice it starts to glide effortlessly.
Right.
Yep, and that's the sign that you're done claying that section. So you can go ahead and wipe off the residue from the clay lubricant and then move on to a new section.
Got a pad right here. Now, my question, Mike, is how often do you need to change out your clay pad itself?
That's a great question, and what's going to determine that is how dirty it's getting, and what determines that is how contaminated the car is. Now, if you haven't cleaned your car in a year or a couple years and it's parked outside all the time, it's going to be a lot more contaminated than something that's garage parked all the time. And so what you want to do is periodically look at your clay patty. As you see it load up full of contaminants, then you know it's time to throw it away. So you just kind of have to use common sense.
So a little common sense goes a long way in this and just about anything else, but what you get in this package is enough to do the car like this, it seems like, for a lifetime.
Another question that comes up all the time is people ask me, after I'm done cleaning the car, do I need to wash it? And the answer is no, not as long as you take, and after you're done cleaning a section, take a clean microfiber towel and wipe off that residue as you move around the car. And if you look, it leaves the paint nice and clean and shiny. Okay, that's the action of the residue, because not only does it lubricate the surface, it also helps it to look good as you're working around the car. That's feeling pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think it's a long way. I mean, you want to hit with the bag again to make sure?
We can. Once you tackle that side, I'm going to work my way around the rest of this hood here.
All right. Wipe this off here. So the Audi is really starting to come along. We've got all those surface contaminants removed, and this thing feels really smooth. The cleaning did a great job on it, but the thing is, it's just removed the surface contaminants. If you look close on this thing, you can see that there's a bird dropping right here that it didn't get off. So you can actually feel it down deep, so we're going to have to go to a deeper level. And that's, I think, what, Mike, you're examining right now with that swirl finder.
Yeah, so the first thing you want to do is remove the contaminants that are on the surface. We did that. Now we're still back at the surface evaluation. Once you remove the above surface contaminants, now you want to inspect visually for swirls and scratches. And these are what we call below surface defects. The contaminants were on the surface and scratches are actually in the paint. Now this is a handy little tool. You don't have to have it, but it's kind of convenient because it works like the sun. Watch this. See how it just exposes those swirls? Looked pretty good until I put the light on.
Yeah, inside you can't see it. I'm sure the sun would expose it the same, but that's great to have, because in an environment like this, or you live up north where I do, it's cold, you don't want to really bring the vehicle out just to check, in the snow to check for swirls.
And it might be a cloudy day.
Right, true, true.
We call this the cruel master because it's hard to please. But we can see here we got swirls and scratches, and so we know we got to remove them here. That's machine polishing. Let's check this out.
Yeah, let me check it out over here. Wow, I thought I was looking good until now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely got some work to do on the Audi.
People either love that light or they hate it.
Well, you know what? I'm pretty excited because that means I get to finally bring out the tools and do some machine polishing.
It's tool time. We're going to do some machine polishing. That's next, so let's get ready for that.
It's about time now to have some fun and use some power tools to go ahead and polish out this Audi TT. So we're going to use the Flex Polisher 3401, and what we've got to do is match the right pad to the right compound to make sure we get our desired effect. Now you can see the pads are laid out from most aggressive to least aggressive, and being this is a newer car and the swirls aren't that deep in, this one's going to be a little too aggressive for what we're looking for. Now we don't want to go too far in to that clear coat, so this white pad right here looks like what we're going to be starting with. Now we've got to match it to the right compound.
You're right, Bruno. What we have here is 4 different pads. This is a cutting, polishing, finishing, and this last one, this really soft one, this is for actually machine applying a wax. Now, the swirls in this car are really shallow, so we don't need the aggressive cutting pad. So we are going to start out with what's called a polishing pad. This is pretty common in the paint polishing industry. Every pad company has one. What we have up here are 3 different polishes in the Wolfgang line. Now, this one on my left here, this is actually called the Paintwork Polish Enhancer. Now, this is non-abrasive. It's basically a paint cleaner. It's very light cleaning. So if you had a car that had no swirls at all, this is what you could use by hand or machine. Just make sure the surface is completely clean before you put the wax on. It'll enable that wax to really bond, and that makes it last a long time. But we do have some swirls, so we're not going to be using this today. We're just going to stick with these 2 polishes over here. Now this first one here is the Wolfgang Total Swirl Remover 3.0, and this other one is the Wolfgang Finishing Glaze. Now these both use diminishing abrasives, and that's important because these aren't like those old-fashioned compounds that use sharp, gritty abrasives. Right. What these do is they start out aggressive, they remove the defects, and as you're working them, they actually break down, they diminish, they pulverize, they break up into nothingness. And what that means is they got the ability to remove defects without leaving swirls behind, and that's the key. So it's important that you're using products with great abrasive technology. Now since we don't need this aggressive cutting pad, We're going to start out using the 2.0 swirl remover with the polishing pad. Then we're going to come back and we're going to use the finishing glaze with a finishing pad. And this again is also very soft. And by the time we do these 2 steps, we're going to have restored a flawless show car finish. Then we'll be ready to put the machine wax on. So let's start by going over some techniques for actually using the polisher.
Perfect.
Okay.
Now before you go ahead and fire up your polisher, you want to make sure that your polishing pad is centered correctly on your backing plate. Just like that. Then you want to go ahead and apply the total swirl remover onto your polishing pad. And then Mike can fire up our polisher and start having some fun.
Now here's a few tips. First, anytime you're machine polishing, put the cord over your shoulder. Otherwise you're going to drag it up against the paint, possibly mar it. That's just a good best practice to get into. And here's another tip, and this is key. Don't turn this on until that pad is in contact with the paint. You know why?
It's going to get that everywhere. All your total swirl remover will be all over the place. It'll be all over you, everywhere you don't want it to be.
We call it splatter dots. You'll throw splatter dots everywhere, and here's what you're going to do. You're going to set the polisher down, grab a microfiber, and spend about an hour wiping them off everywhere through splatter, including the wall, including yourself, okay? And I got to tell you, Bruno, most people make that mistake one time, and after they go through all the pain of getting the little dots of splatter off, they never make it again.
Yeah, it's a lesson learned, but this way, do it right the first time, it'll save yourself an hour of headaches.
That's right. Okay, now here's another tip. Modern clear coats, the paints are actually fairly hard. That's what makes them so durable, so they last as long as the drivetrain does nowadays. But what that means is when you're going to buff out a car, I can't just tackle, say, half the hood because I can reach that far. What I want to do is I want to break this up into sections and just tackle a section at a time. And then when I start a new section, I want to overlap a little bit into the previous section. And that way I'll uniformly remove all the swirls over every panel.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned from Mike is the fact that make sure you overlap, because otherwise you might have a section here will be nice and polished and a section right here, and that gap in between will have swirls in it. So make sure that you overlap a little bit as you go along and tackle little sections at a time to make sure you get a proper finish.
Yep. Now this is a Flex 3410 polisher, and what's cool about this tool is it's not like a rotary, so you're not going to burn the paint and you're not going to put swirls in. It's completely safe, and it has enough power to tackle any car, no matter how hard or how soft the paint is. It's also got a variable speed dial here. And what I like about this is when I turn this over, it's conveniently located right here where I'm holding the tool that I can adjust the speed with my thumb. And what I like about that is when I start out, I want a low setting or a slow setting to spread the product out. Now once I got that product spread out, I'm going to bump that speed because you need the high speed to actually remove the swirls. Then here's a couple more tips and techniques for machine polishing. Okay, one is you want to use a pattern that you can duplicate, and the easiest pattern that you can duplicate over the rest of the car is a front to back and a side to side. And when you're removing swirls, normally you're going to want to work one section about 6 to 8 times. We call these section passes. So I'm going to buff out a section here. Tell you what, Bruno, hand me, put down a microfiber.
Okay, sure. Yeah, this is a little guide here for us to go by.
It's kind of a guide. The average microfiber towel is 16 inches square. So this is about as big of an area as you want to buff at one time, and then when you move on to a new section, tackle a section the same size, but again, overlap just a little bit. But the first thing you want to do is spread your product out, and then I want to go front to back and side to side. And each time I cover this section one time, that's one section pass. I've covered that section one time. And in most cases, when you're removing swirls, you're going to have to do those section passes about 6 to 8 times. Then turn the polisher off, wipe and inspect. If the swirls are gone, move on to the new section.
All right, let's fire it up, Mike.
Here we go. So low setting to spread it out, and then I'm going to start bringing up my speed, and then I'm going to make my section passes. I'm going to stop. Notice how I move the polisher fairly quickly, but that's only to spread the product out. Once I have it spread out, and this is key, because this is a mistake a lot of guys make, they move this polisher too quickly. You actually want to use what we call a slow arm speed, and that's how fast I move my arm or the polisher, and move it very slowly. So watch, and you'll see how slow I move this.
Yeah, with the clay you're moving fast. This is just the opposite. You want to use nice and slow and allow the machine to do the work.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to bring up the speed. Okay, I went over that section 6 times. That's called 6 section passes. Notice I didn't lift this off till that pad stopped spinning. Now I'll lift it off, and again, that keeps me from throwing splatter everywhere.
It's that mistake that you learned the first time, and hopefully it's the last time, and it saves you that hour of cleaning up all that splatter. You know what, though? That flex, I just like the sound of it. I mean, it just sounds like a cool tool. You know what I mean? If it did nothing else, the sound is worth it.
It's smooth, it's fairly low vibration, it's definitely got the power. Okay, now, since this is a polish, we don't need to let it dry, so go ahead and just wipe that off real gently, and let's inspect the results.
Okay. Wow, Mike, that's really looking good.
You know, most people look at this and think we just waxed the car.
Yeah.
And it does look pretty good, but we're actually going to take this to an even higher level. We're going to switch over to a less aggressive pad, use the finishing glaze, really amp up the gloss and clarity, and then we'll be ready to put some wax on.
All right. So we've utilized the Wolfgang Total Swirl Remover to take out all the swirls in the paint. And you know, a lot of people might stop right here, but the finish we're looking for is that professional look, and it's really a 2-part process. So what we're going to use now is the Wolfgang Finishing Glaze, and this is going to allow us to get that professional shine and really bring this paint to life.
And I've switched over to a finishing pad, much softer, and the finishing glaze. And this is going to maximize the gloss and the clarity because it's a clear coat, so what we want to do is make the clear as possible to see this beautiful color underneath. Now I've turned this down to a low setting again just to spread this out, and I'm basically going to work the same area I did, and of course when I get done with this area then I'd move on to the next section. Okay, I have my product spread out. I'm going to speed this up. Now before I was on the 6th setting, I'm going to bump it down to the 5, but that's because I'm not trying to remove the swirls anymore. I'm just trying to polish the high gloss. I don't need all that power. And again, let the pad stop spinning before you lift this off. Don't need to let the polish dry. And if you noticed, I didn't make as many section passes. Again, I've already removed the defects, so you don't have to work the product as much over the surface. Doesn't that look good?
Wow, it's really come to life.
You can really see how the gloss is just amped up now. Okay, and so the next step is to go ahead and finish the car. We're going to do these 2 steps to the entire car, every panel, and after that, we'll be ready to put the wax on.
This is looking good, Mike. Now I've got the flex in my hand, so I'm smiling. I get to have at it now. We did our surface enhancement. Mike did a great job. It is ready to be all sealed in. We're going to use our deep gloss paint sealant 3.0 to go ahead and lock in this great shine.
Yeah, this is a synthetic paint sealant. So a lot of people, they think of a car wax as something like a natural product used from the wax scraped off a Brazilian palm tree. And that adds a lot of gloss, but this is actually made from German engineered super polymers. So it's a lot longer lasting, but it gives you that high gloss look of a Carnauba wax. That's the cool thing about it.
Yeah, this will last up to months at a time, so it's great because it's going to save you time over the long haul. You don't have to use it all the time as well.
Protects the paint. That's the key thing about it. Plus, it makes it look good.
All right, I'm ready to fire it up. Now, with this, what's great is when you're using the sealant or the wax with the machine, you can go in big, broad strokes and cover because all you're trying to do is spread it evenly over the vehicle.
Yeah. And notice the cord is over his shoulder. Good, man?
Yeah. You know what, Mike, this is really easy. I bet you I can go one-handed with this bad boy.
Takes all the work out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is great.
You're doing this behind you back here like this, yeah?
Yeah, really, this is the only way to do it, I think.
Yeah. What he's also done is he's turned the speed down. We're on the 2 setting. We don't need all that power. We're not trying to remove defects. Now, anytime you're machine waxing, you want to go over each square inch 2 to 3 passes. At this point, the goal isn't to remove defects, it's to spread out a thin, uniform layer of this paint sealant. And what we got to do then is let it set up for about 45 minutes. Now, this product is oxygen cured, so we need this to set up fully before we wipe it off, and that way we'll get the most benefits out of it, the long-lasting protection and the deep gloss shine. So, tell you what, how about I'll move out of the way, you finish the other side, and as we're letting this dry, we'll jump over here to the Mercedes and I'll share some tips and techniques for working by hand over here.
That's a great idea. Let me get over here. Now, we've been using the Flex Polisher to go ahead and do all our surface enhancements and apply the paint sealant on our Audi TT. Now, it's a great way to go, especially if you've got those deeper scratches, you need those deeper swirls to get them out. But keep in mind, when using any of this Wolfgang Concours-Series, you don't need to use a polisher. You can do it by hand as well. Now, you've got a new car like this, Mercedes, for instance. It's pretty much contaminant-free for the most part and doesn't have any real deep swirls into it. So we've got some products that can help bring this to life and do so by hand. It's just all about using the right product and using the right techniques.
Yep, it's all about technique. Like Bruno said, we use the machine over there because, you know, realistically, these modern clear coats are really hard, and if you've actually got to remove swirls, it's going to be faster and easier to work by machine. You get it finished like this, brand new Mercedes, no swirls, no scratches. Let me show you some tips and techniques for working by hand. Okay, so what we have here is called the Polishing Pal. Bruno, grab that wax pad.
Okay, right here. Yep.
Now, this is a traditional wax pad, and you could use this, but the problem is, notice how he holds it. He sandwiched it between these 4 fingers and his thumb, so he can't lay this flat against the paint because his thumb's there to hold it.
Right.
Plus, look where all the pressure is going to be, right there across his fingertips. So realistically, he's only using about this part of the pad. So what this is this is a foam pad, kind of like we use for the machine, and it's on a Velcro interface here with an ergonomic handle. And look at this, when I hold it like this, I'm going to have 100% of the face of this pad going to work for me.
Right.
And here's a little tip. When you have a brand new pad, when you're first starting out, you want to do what we call priming the pad. Go ahead and pour some on yours.
Okay.
And put a little bit on mine. And what you're going to do is just take your finger, and you only got to do this the first time when the pad is dry, and just take and put some of this Paintwork Polish Enhancer, push it around, and kind of moisturize or dampen the face of the pad before you start. That way 100% of this is going to go to work for you cleaning the paint. Now, once you have some product on there, I need a little bit.
Get a little bit more.
Then you add like kind of a dime or a nickel size, just a drop there, so you have something to actually work with. There you go. And when you're using this product, you actually want to put this on in straight lines. And again, kind of like we did over there when we worked by machine, you only want to work a small section at a time. So here's a section, maybe here's a section, and here's a section. And you apply this in straight lines and you let it dry to a haze. Come back, it's real easy to wipe off. And this is going to perfectly prepare this for an application of wax. What this also does is it removes any light oxidation. It's non-abrasive. It's basically a chemical cleaner. It's going to remove any light oxidation, any light water spots, any surface impurities, and any previously applied coats of wax or paint sealant. Now, this is important because you don't want to get a wax buildup. So periodically, it's a good idea to go out and use a light paint cleaner like this. And what this does is it gets you down to what we call a fresh base. That means it gets us right back down to the original paint.
Yeah, we'll let this dry to a haze then, Mike, right? And then we'll buff it out with a microfiber, and then we're ready to go to the next step.
That'll be applying the wax. Okay, so tell you what, let's keep knocking this out.
Okay, scoot this over here for you.
Okay, we've let this dry to a haze, so we're ready to wipe it off. Hey, hold on there. Let's go over proper wiping techniques.
Yeah,
okay?
Good idea.
And what he was about to do is pretty common. People just take a rag and scrunch it up and start wiping. They got all kinds of wacky edges and stuff here. So here's a couple techniques to help you to do a good job of wiping anything off, whether it's a paint cleaner like this, a polish, or a wax. Take and fold this 4 ways. Okay, what this is going to do, first of all, it's going to give you 8 dedicated sides to wipe with. Okay, so that's good towel management. Next, it's going to give you some cushion here to spread out the pressure of your hand. Okay, and then here's a technique for actually wiping any product off. Lay this down flat, put your hand on it, and then just lightly twist this back and forth. And see how I made a shiny spot there?
Oh yeah.
Okay, now come back and just take little swipes, little bites. And what you're going to do is you're going to creep out from the shiny spot. Now, when I say creep out, I don't mean get weird on me. I mean move out from the shiny spot. And that's called breaking open a layer of wax, or in this case, breaking open a layer of paint cleaner. The whole idea is when you're working on a flawless finish like this, you need to really bring up the level of your professionalism and technique so you don't put scratches back into the paint. And this is really important because modern clear coats, again, they're scratch sensitive. It doesn't take much to scratch them, but it sure does take a little bit of work to get them out, doesn't it?
Now that we've got the paintwork polish enhancer removed off the vehicle, it's time for the icing on the cake. You know, the last step is to go ahead and apply the Wolfgang Fusion wax. Now this is really going to make this thing come alive.
Yeah, the Fusion is actually German-engineered super polymers fused with carnauba wax. So you get the long-lasting protection of the synthetic polymers, but you get the look, the gloss, the clarity and shine famous from carnauba wax.
So you go ahead and switched out our pads now. We've got the red ones on, we took the white ones off, and now it's time to do the little magic.
These are very, very soft, and all you have to do with this is just take it in here, just kind of spin it like that. Put some wax on that pad, you're ready to go.
All right.
And again, we want to take and apply this in straight lines in the direction the wind would blow over the car. You want to use a gentle touch with this because, see, we've already perfectly prepared the paint for wax. That was with the polished paintwork enhancer. And the goal here is to put on a thin, even coat. You don't want a thick coat. A thick coat just wastes product and it makes wipe off hard.
What's great about the size of this wax that comes from the Fusion wax is the fact that if you do it right, you're going to get like 30 applications out of this one jar. Well, a little bit goes a long way, and you know what? You're going to get a great shine as well.
That's right. And unlike the Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant, which is oxygen activated over here that we had to let dry, this is a product you can apply and then instantly wipe it right off. And that makes it pretty much, you can't help but get great results. Another nice thing about this, Bruno, is if you accidentally get this on any kind of plastic trim, it won't dry and turn white. You know how unsightly that is?
That can be really, really difficult to get at because it goes in nooks and crannies that are hard to reach, and you always, well, it seems like you never finished. You know, you'll be walking around the car and you're always finding little white spots, and that's really a headache.
And once it's dried, it's almost impossible to get it off there. So it's always going to look stained.
All right, Mike, so the back of the car is done. Now I think it's just a matter of, using the proper techniques and removing it all.
That's right. Since we don't have to let it dry, we're ready to wipe it off.
I like the instant gratification part of this.
Well, notice how easy this wipes off, too. Have you ever had a wax where you had to actually struggle to get it off?
All too often.
It wipes off like concrete.
Yep.
Yeah, plus, have you noticed anything else, like how it smells?
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's like a candy store.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of makes working in your garage a lot fun. And what you want to do periodically is take and fold to a clean, dry side.
Okay.
And then pick back up where you left off. Look at that deep shine.
Oh, that's great. This thing's really coming to life.
This has actually got a metallic finish. And anytime you have a metallic, what you're really aiming for is to get that clear coat as clear as you can through the prep work, the surface enhancement, and then put the coat of wax on. And you want a wax that's going to let this, what they call, let the metallic flake pop, so you can actually see each little flake glisten in the sun.
Man, that looks great.
Okay, once we get this wax wiped off, we're ready to go over here and take off that Deep Gloss Paint Sealant 3.0.
Yep. Our Audi should be just about cooked, I'd say. So now it looks like it's time to attack the Audi. We've got the Mercedes done. And remember, this is a paint sealer. We had to let it cure, dry for a little while before we can go ahead and remove it. Now, it says about 45 minutes, and that's going to depend on the conditions you're in. But there's one good way you can check to make sure it's ready, and that's the swipe test.
That's right. 45 minutes is just kind of an indicator, it's a general term. If you're in a cold, wet environment, it might take longer. If you're in a warm environment, it might dry a little bit faster. But what Bruno just did is called the swipe test. That's where you take your clean finger and just give a brisk swipe, and where we swipe the paint, it should be clear and glossy. Now if that would have been smeary looking, that would tell us that it's not quite dry. We'd want to let some more time go by, but obviously this is ready to wipe off. So I'll tell you what, you start over there. And again, we want to use good technique. We have our towels folded 4 ways. I'm going to break open a little shiny spot here, and then from here just kind of creep out and take little tiny bites, overlapping circles basically.
Oh, Mike, this thing is really coming to life, and it's doing it quick. It's nice to get the gratification after all the work we put in. You know, on the Audi, remember, we used the machine polisher, and there's a couple steps we did to go ahead and not only get the surface ready, but to seal it in. So it was a couple step process.
And this, like the Fusion, notice how easy it wipes off? And feel the paint, rub the microfiber, feel how slick that is. This is a really slick wax. Makes that surface slick, nothing's going to want to stick to it afterwards. So, yep, so this is the one where we use the swirl remover first, then we use the finishing glaze, then we applied the Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant 3.0. On the Mercedes, since it didn't really have any swirls, it's a brand new car, what we use for that is we use the Wolfgang Paintwork Polish Enhancer, and then we applied the Wolfgang Fusion over the top of that.
You know, 2 different processes for 2 different vehicles and 2 different ways of going, but either way, I think if you look at the results, wow, it's just amazing because you really got the life of the paint to come out. You know, this one needed a little more work because machine tools, this one was done by hand, and either way, it's a winner, man.
Yeah, I think. Watch this.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty slippery.
We got the outside, the exterior is done. Everybody else is going to be happy and be jealous when we're driving down the road. Now it's all about us and taking care of that interior as well.
Yep, so let's start on the interior.
All right. Nice job, Mike.
Looks good. Now we're going to share some tips and techniques to help you detail the inside of your car.
What we're going to utilize is the Wolfgang leather cleaner on these leather seats, obviously. Now it's great because it's pH balanced, it's biodegradable, and it's got a citrus blend to it. Now what's nice is it doesn't have any petroleum solvents in it, which could damage that stitching and make it deteriorate over time. Now one thing Mike has taught me is the right way to apply this is take the spray nozzle, bury it into your microfiber applicator and spray away. What'll happen is it'll keep you from getting overspray all over the inside of your vehicle, which you don't want. And when you rub it on, it'll actually kind of come out and soak into your leather. So what you're going to do is apply everywhere you want to and let it sit for about 30 seconds and let it penetrate into the leather.
Yeah, you know, especially with a convertible, but this is true because, you know, you're exposed to the sun, you get hot. But one of the things is your body, when you get hot, it emits salts, acids, perspiration, moisture, and these are going to build up any place your skin touches. So if you're wearing shorts as a guy or a dress as a girl, the backs of your legs are going to be resting on the seat, and this is going to get sweaty. The backs of your heads against the headrest, and where you rest your arms on the armrest or say the console. So these are areas you want to pay a lot of extra attention to really get them clean. And as Bruno was saying, take and bury that nozzle into a soft microfiber applicator like this, and there's a foam inner core here, and then when you push on this, it'll release that cleaner, and that way you don't have to spray it and get it on the glass or on your in-car entertainment or your gauges, things like that. So it's just a little tip to help you from creating more work and have to come back and wipe all that stuff off.
Another thing to keep in mind is if a leather cleaner can be used anywhere inside your vehicle. If it's good enough for the quality leather you've got, it's good enough for the vinyl and plastic.
That's right. Leather is an animal skin, and it's a lot more sensitive to chemicals. So if you've got a product that's safe for leather, of course it's going to be safe for your plastic and vinyl surfaces too.
Now once we've allowed this to penetrate like we've had, we want to go ahead and use a microfiber towel and remove all the excess as well.
That's right. Get all the, just give it a final wipe, and any oils and salts and any kind of grime that's been loosened up, you're going to draw that onto the microfiber towel so you don't leave it behind, and seal it in with the conditioner. Feels good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Coming along, buddy.
Yep. And so the next thing we want to do is go ahead, and now that we've cleaned it, we don't want to leave it unprotected. Again, in this case, it's a convertible. It's exposed to the UV rays, which is going to fade it, cause it to dry out and crack. So you want to use a high-quality conditioner. For that, we got the Wolfgang Leather Care and Conditioner.
Okay.
This is a rich gel, again, non-solvent, water-based.
Give me an applicator, Mike.
Here's another clean applicator pad.
Okay. That's another thing. You want to make sure you keep putting new applicators. You don't want to mix the chemicals back and forth, because your whole idea of treating that leather conditioner, you're contaminating with the cleaner, and they're fighting each other along the way. So always make sure you use a clean applicator when you're doing this stuff.
It's just a good idea to have a good stock of applicator pads, microfiber towels before you start the process, so you don't got to stop everything, run down to the store and pick something up.
Right, right. So we'll rub in our leather conditioner here. Man, it's got that rich Corinthian leather smell to it and that feel as well. This is nice.
Yeah, it kind of restores that leather scent we all love, you know.
Now, there's one last piece of the puzzle we want to show you guys in terms of the Wolfgang line of interior cleaners, and that is our vinyl and rubber protectant.
There you go. Here's a clean applicator pad. Again, a dedicated pad for each product.
And same thing, we're going to spray it into our applicator here, and then we're going to wipe it on versus spraying it onto our dash, and what will happen is it gets all over the windshield and everywhere else, and you spend a lot of time running in circles. So this is going to protect it in those harsh environments, the sun beating on this thing all the time.
UV protection.
Keep it looking that nice deep black look to it as well.
Yeah, now this is a huge black dash here. Of course, the black's going to be absorbing all the sun rays. It's going to get really hot. If you don't keep something like this protected, this is where you're going to run into fading, drying out, cracking, things like that. Anything in the interior compartment that's rubber, plastic, or vinyl.
Yeah, it's a really nice proactive thing to do, because it gets to the point that it's faded out. There's really no way to fix it other than replacing that whole dash. And a car like this, that's going to be really expensive, and from the outside you can't help but miss it. It'll change the whole look of the vehicle. So you got all this time and energy and a great paint job, a great finish, and you see this worn, cracked out dash, and it just ruins the whole look of the car. One more thing we want to show these guys to treat these hard plastic surfaces here. A lot of these cars have a lot of exposed plastic on them. This one fortunately doesn't, but there is some areas that could use a little treatment as well.
That's right. This is a hard plastic surface. It's exposed to the sun, and Wolfgang has a brand new product. It's called Exterior Trim Sealant. Okay, and unlike a lot of plastic dressings, this isn't going to run off if it gets wet. Say you get caught in the rain, you're washing the car. A lot of these plastic dressings just run off because plastic doesn't absorb very well. What this uses is a synthetic polymer that's going to protect by bonding actually to the plastic, and it isn't going to wear off. So it's going to last and last and last. And it's going to restore a deep, dark, natural sheen, and that's what you want for plastic surfaces. You don't want a high gloss, you don't want a matte finish, you want a rich sheen.
Yep. This looks really good. And
notice one thing about both the rubber and vinyl protectant, the leather conditioner, and the plastic sealant there, it leaves a non-greasy surface.
So it's not going to stay, it'll stay in your vehicle and not get on your clothes.
And it won't attract dust.
Yep.
So that's another benefit to it.
Mike, I think this car's ready to go.
I think we're ready to take it for a spin. You know, Bruno, we got this Mercedes-Benz looking really nice, except for one thing, and that's the tires. It's kind of like putting on a really nice suit and not shining your shoes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dress the tires using another product from the Wolfgang Concours-Series.
It's the Black Diamond Tire Gel. Now this is our last piece of the puzzle. It's the Time Gel 3.0, and what's great about it is the fact that, first of all, it's going to last a long period of time, weeks, where some of the other ones only last days, so you're constantly redoing it. Or, you know, a week into it, like, oh man, my tires need to be redressed.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to avoid sling off, which means it's not going to sling off onto your paint or your vehicle. You're not going to have all those spots. It'll go on your tire, it'll stay in your tire. It's not going to rub off on your jeans when you walk by. All those little things make all the difference.
That's right. There's no petroleum solvents in this, and it's highly water resistant and detergent resistant, so it's not going to just wash off.
You know, and it smells like a pina colada, and you can't help but love that.
That's right. It's got a really nice coconut smell. It's always fun to work with things that smell good.
Yeah.
Now, here's a little tip to help you apply this. First of all, you want to stock up on what we call tire swipes, okay? That way you don't get your hands all gooey. Now, the next thing you want to do is most guys, they take and they just apply some to the middle, but that makes it really hard to get it onto the tire where it's close to the rim. So what I do is I put a little extra right along the edge. There you go, Bruno. Then I take my finger and I just kind of rub this in, and this is foam, so as I press on the foam, it's going to release the tire gel and apply it to the tire. So that would look just like this. And then again, as you press on the foam, it'll release the product. You can actually shove that edge of the foam right in there around the lip. That way you dress the entire tire. And if you get any on the rim, that's okay. You can just come back with a microfiber towel, wipe off any residue.
That makes a big difference, you know, especially on a vehicle that's a little bit older. You've got the tires almost getting at that brown look, brings a nice bright black, and like you said, it's like shining a pair of shoes. It really completes the whole overall look. I think it's about time that we take this Mercedes out and have some fun with it and kind of show it off a little bit. What's the point of having a car like this if you don't get to have some fun with it?
Let's go have some fun.
So we've got both the Audi and the Mercedes looking great. We were able to use the Wolfgang Concours-Series to completely detail them both in and out. Now the only thing left is to have some fun and drive them, but before we do that, I think it's important we tell you guys that we haven't even covered all the products in the Concours-Series. It's a complete line, and some of these products didn't really apply to these two vehicles. One being the Mercedes is brand new. The Audi is gently used. So if you've got a vehicle that might need a little more maintenance or specific maintenance, let's say you've got a carpet or upholstery that's got deeper stains, or you need to do some maintenance detailing, a headlight lens kit, all this stuff here I think we need to tell you a little bit about. Let's start first with the maintenance stuff.
Okay, so this first one we have is the Instant Detail Spritz. Now a lot of people confuse this with the spray wax, or they confuse the spray wax with the spray detailer. This is a spray detailer. It's meant to mist on and wipe off and remove light dust, fingerprints, and smudges. And what that's going to do is going to restore a clean finish just like you wax the car while amping up the gloss.
Now the other part you've got right too is the Deep Gloss Spritz Sealant. Now this is great as well.
Okay, what you're going to go ahead and mist some of that on there. What this is, remember when we put the deep gloss paint sealant on by machine? Okay, that's a lotion type paint sealant. What this is a spray-on sealant. So it's not for removing light dust. You'd want to use this after you've either washed the car to extend the paint sealant's longevity, or in between a normal car wash and a normal application of the paint sealant to really amp up the gloss and provide additional protection. So these products are for maintenance, basically in between a normal car wash and a normal application of wax or paint sealant.
Now let's say you're driving on the road and you spill your cup of coffee inside of it. Wolfgang Concours-Series, we all have, right?
Yeah.
But usually that stain stays with you. If you've got one of these products here, you can help remove those stains and keep them from getting worse, as a matter of fact.
That's right. So what we have here is the spot eliminator, and what you want to do is pre-treat that spot with the spot eliminator. Take and spray some right on the spot. You can take and work it in. This is a horsehair brush, so it's going to be real gentle to the fibers. It's not going to fray them, rough them up. Then go ahead, and after you've done that, you want to put a terry cloth towel or a microfiber towel down there and just press into it and blot out both the stain and the spot remover. And if you need to clean the entire carpet, then we've got the carpet and upholstery restorer right here, and then you'd spray that over all the carpet, and again work it in gently and then blot it out and then let it dry. And it's going to leave behind German super polymers, which is going to actually coat over and protect these fibers and help them to resist stains in the future.
Right, which is great. So you're removing a problem, you're preventing one from happening down the road.
That's right.
Now another thing that happens with cars that are a few years older is you've got a situation where you've got the headlight lenses, they start to fog or yellow or haze over. The big problem there is it makes you hard to be seen on the road and you hard to see on the road.
That's right.
Which is dangerous for just about everybody. Well, Wolfgang has got a cure for that as well.
And this comes in a kit form, okay? So I've got everything out of the kit here, but this is the Wolfgang Plastic Lens Cleaning System. Now what this includes, it includes a backing plate, 2 different foam pads, okay? So this is for the cleaner, this is for the glaze, and it includes the adapter, and this fits right into any household drill. You apply this back onto the back of the foam pad. It has a Velcro interface. Put that on your drill. Then you can come down here and use the plastic lens cleaner to remove the oxidation, the yellowing, and the haze. After that, you want to come back and apply the plastic lens glaze. That's going to restore optical clarity. And then to seal the deal, you want to go ahead and put the plastic surface protectant on there. That's going to seal and help prevent it from getting oxidized and hazy into the future.
And that's a big thing. A lot of the other kits out there I've seen don't have that last step as the sealant. They go ahead and they remove that UV protectant with the abrasives. They take away the hazing and the fogging, but without that UV protectant, that comes right back in a matter of months, and you're back to where you were at square one. So the sealant is the key to the whole deal as far as I'm concerned.
It's like we polished the swirls out of the paint and then we put a coat of wax on it. It's the same idea. You want to seal that plastic, put a barrier coating on there to slow down and help prevent oxidation, yellowing, and hazing.
Now the last thing I want to talk to you guys about and show you is you got treatments for aluminum and metal with both cleaning and polishing, and that is also from the Wolfgang Concours-Series, and this is called Metalwork.
Okay, what we have here is a set of 3 different polishes, and then we got a metal sealant here. Now if you've got neglected wheels, okay, so the wheels have really tarnished and oxidized, you could start out with the aluminum compound. This is fairly coarse. It's going to get in there and clean that oxidation off really fast. You would follow that with the aluminum polish. This is a fine polish, and you could either use this after the heavy cutting compound, or if your wheels aren't too bad, then you could skip the compound and go right to the finishing polish. And we also have a concours polish. Now this is going to restore maximum brilliance, clarity, and shine, and create like a chrome-like finish to most aluminum wheels and aluminum metal surfaces. And then to seal the deal, you want to go ahead and use the concours metal sealant. And that's again like putting a wax on the paint to protect the paint from oxidation. You want to put the sealant on the aluminum, and that'll help prevent oxidation into the future.
Now, as you can see, we've got a complete line from Wolfgang, and you know it's important that you follow the necessary steps if you want to get this professional finish. Guys like Mike, there's a reason why he's got all the experience and all the clout that he does, is because he knows all the steps it takes to get there, and you won't get there unless you have the proper line to do it. And Wolfgang has you covered from both head to toe.
That's right. Not only does it take the right techniques to apply the products, but you got to start out with good products in the first place.
You know what? I say it's time to drive.
Well, since you're the race car driver, how about if I let you do the driving? I'll just hold on and scream.
That sounds like a plan, my friend.